My name is Yaron Shemer and I teach at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill. My work in the past was focused on Mizrahi cinema, and as a natural continuation of that, in a way, it is the Jew in Arab cinema, and that's the current project. At least to an extent, I can attribute my interest in this field, in these themes, with my personal background. My parents are from Iraq. They came to Israel, Palestine. They met in Israel. And there was a big thing, we all know about it now, of denying your identity, of being shameful of who you are, considering, that your parents are from the Arab world, and it's more than shame. I mean, there was in Israel at that time, people were suspicious of any kind of notion of exile, of people coming from other places, using other languages. But it's much more extreme when it comes to people who came from the Arab world, because it's not only not Israel, but it's associated with the enemy. So on different levels, I mean, from, being shameful of the language at home and embarrassed by the food we eat and these things. And it's like almost a form of vindication now to go back and say, okay, you know what, I'm going to look into that. And it's like claiming something in a way, yeah. I think one of the things that you realize that you are part of some change that is happening now. And I can refer to my book on Mizrahi cinema. There were some trends that, I maybe started discerning, noticing. And I know that now it's like much more okay. It's much more common to talk about it. It's more mainstream to kind of address these things. So I think that's a big thing that you notice that we're still, West Mizrahi Jews were still marginalized. There's no question about it. But here we have the conference here. I mean, it's an excellent example for what I'm saying. It's part of a change. Yeah, who thought in Berlin, you would have a conference about Arab Jews? Yeah, I mean, it's a really complicated question, and things change over time. And to say, it was like, the obvious things, was it good or bad? This is like what the layperson would ask. I mean, it's really impossible to say. We need to contextualize it within, specific period with specific groups. I would just give examples. I will not elaborate on that. I mean, but my dad, for example, and I corroborated that. I mean, people. From my parents' generation, they said the same thing. Yeah, there was a big difference. For example, in Iraq, in Baghdad, in the 40s. I'm emphasizing all these things, yeah, because I'm trying to be very specific. There was a big difference how Shia treated Jews versus Sunnis, for example. There was a big difference with the whole thing of pollution, purity, whatever, touching, using someone else's food, whatever. So. I cannot, it would be foolish on the part of anyone to try, I think, to come with huge generalizations and say Jews and Muslims live together happily, whatever, and look what happened now because of colonialism, because of Jewish Zionism, national movement, and because of Arab national movement. Look what happens, everything is falling apart. We would say, I think no one in his right mind, her right mind, would challenge the following: that you should not map the European Ashkenazi relations with the Holocaust, with the pogroms, to map it into the Arab world, because the story is really different. And here I am talking about the broader scope, yeah? There is absolutely no question, even if you are the most Israeli, Jewish, conservative, whatever scholar, you have to admit that there is no comparison between the fate of Jews in Europe overall, yeah, and relatively the much more positive kind of contacts Jews had in the Arab/Muslim world in the Middle East. Yeah, I mean, in general, Jews are under, when I say European, I'm really referring specifically under Christian rule, yeah? I mean, it doesn't need to be something that has to do with faith per se, like in Nazi Germany. It's not faith per se, it's a religious practice, yeah? It's more with race. But, I mean, the greatest, the most extreme, obviously, sad points in history between relationship between Jews and their neighbors happened in Europe. There's no question about it. In the Arab world, overall, yeah, the Jews were the dhimmis. They had certain status. They were protected minority. They were not like first-class citizens, but there is nothing to compare their fate. It was much, much better compared to once again, the pogroms, the killings in definitely the 19th century, and the Holocaust in the 20th century. You have no equivalent to that. You have occasionally, and once again, sometimes it was instigated by actually Christians kind of convictions, yeah, of the blood libel in Syria, for example, yeah. But once again, these were rare and far in between, yeah. So they were not very frequent, yeah.